Hello folks, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates. I have this angle so you can see the dynamic Mr. Pauly working very hard this morning. You can hear him snoring. Pauly is 12 now and he doesn't get around great, but he's beloved by people all over the world. You can hear him snore. I'm going to try to do this video over the loud snore. Oh, he moved. The loud snores of Mr. Pauly. So I'm going to get situated a little closer here. We'll look at him every now and again and see what's going on. So I have a video today called The Top 10 Most Powerful Marital Therapy Insights. And this stuff, these are my fastballs. If you come to my office in Indianapolis, or if you contact me via Skype, I take 2 to 3 sessions just doing your family tree, your genogram, studying 5 generations of your family, and then either the 3rd or 4th session is an hour and a half or 2 hours. And pretty much you get this, except it's tailored specifically to you. So most of my clients pay $175 an hour for 4.5, 5 hours, whatever that works out to. It's a lot to get what you're about ready to get for free. Now, I can't tailor it to your particular exact situation, but I could if you texted me and we set something up on Skype. So don't be overwhelmed with Pauly's energy. Okay, so these dudes, these are valuable. You're getting valuable information. I've been doing this for 32 years and I'm good at it. So here we go. Number 1, top powerful marital therapy insight. The correct paradigm when I'm sitting in front of a couple is not to see 2 people on the couch. It's to see 5 generations of people on the couch. I can't really flash you a genogram of a client because somebody could slow motion and hone in and it would be a HIPAA violation, so I better not do that. But trust me when I tell you, I just take a regular 8x10 piece of paper and it's completely covered with writing, and on that piece of paper it has you, it has your parents, it has your grandparents. I put your siblings on the back, I put your children on the back, and then I add great-grandparents. So we have 5 generations of people, and I won't give very much feedback to anybody until I learn about their 5 generations of issues. Many times, the most important thing that's ever happened to one of the people sitting on the couch in front of me happened 2 generations ago, or 3 generations ago, or maybe further back, and we just don't know what it is. There are things that are powerful. Being in a war and getting PTSD because you fought in World War II is very impactful. Suicides are very impactful. The early death of a parent is very impactful. So when I study a person, the correct prism, the correct GPS system is it is a system. It is 5 generations of people. You cannot understand who you are until you understand where you came from. Your life wasn't built in a vacuum. It was built in a dysfunctional family. Any therapist, marital therapist you go to who doesn't take the time to study your family tree for 5 generations, I don't think is worth a copay of $10, frankly. If they're trying to fix your marriage, they're doing the wrong thing. Typical marriage counselors, they got it all wrong. They got it all wrong. I never fix anybody's marriage. Marriage is designed to knock your walls down so you could heal. I don't want to fix that. I want your walls knocked down. I don't want to put Band-Aids on a cancer. I want to cut that cancer out. Every bit of it. Number 2, most powerful marital insight. Sorry, but you will marry a twin, a psychological twin of the parent who hurt you the most. I guarantee it. There is one caveat. A small percentage of people marry the exact opposite of the parent who hurt them the most. So most of us marry our types, but some of us marry our anti-types. But dudes, if you think you grew up with Charles Manson as your daddy and Bonnie from Bonnie and Clyde as your mama, and because you've got a good education and you're good looking and you have a nice house and drive a nice car that your shit don't stink, you're wrong. Eventually, marriage is going to reveal just how broken and dysfunctional you are. Why does Mother Nature work it out that you have to be attracted to a person who's the twin of the parent who hurt you the most? Well, I'm glad you asked. And I'm going to draw it for you. Here's the thing. You're getting this for free. Most people, it costs them over time. In a course of therapy, it costs them thousands of dollars. You're getting this for free. Okay, so everybody gets wounds in their childhood, and then Mother Nature thankfully provides defense mechanisms represented by the X's, and these defense mechanisms are issued beginning at about 18 months old, and they become more and more strong and more sophisticated the older you get. The more pain you have, the thicker the walls you have. These defense mechanisms are designed by Mother Nature to get you through your childhood. Mother Nature doesn't want children doing a whole lot of therapy. Mother Nature wants them to bury it and get the hell out of Dodge as soon as they can. And many people don't know much about who they are and where they came from because they've been numbed out by denial and these defense mechanisms. That they come in and they're married to Charles Manson and they tell me that they grew up with the Waltons or the Brady Bunch, and I say, bullshit, you did, and I'll prove it to you. So the second agenda that Mother Nature has with these defense mechanisms, this is a typical 22-year-old. Mother Nature very much would like you in your 20s to fall in love with somebody equally as healthy as you, which is bad news for most of us, and get married and have some babies. Mother Nature is invested in propagating the species. So when you marry, there is a period of time where you become enmeshed. It's falling in love. It's what all the songs on the radio are about. It's what a lot of really good poetry about. This is enmeshment. You're lump, you're young, you're deaf, you're blind, you're dumb, and you're stupid. I don't mean to be offensive at that. I just mean you're falling in love, and you're young, and you're naive, and you don't know what the world's all about. You think you're going to get married and live happily ever after. When I see a pair of 25-year-olds walking down the aisle, I see two lambs being led to slaughter. If y'all are 25 and you're watching this video, you're not going to get it. If you're 45 years old, you know damn well what I'm talking about two lambs being led to the slaughter, don't you? You know. So, Mother Nature wants to heal you. I'm going to get to preaching again. If I were to cut my finger, then immediately red blood platelets would arrive on the scene, begin to coagulate the blood. 2 weeks later, the cut's gone. I was working with a doctor yesterday, and I told her, you never healed anybody. You take bad stuff out, and you put good stuff in, and then we just lay in our hospital beds. These days we lay at home because the insurance won't pay for the hospital bed. And the body just heals itself. And Mother Nature is extremely invested in this wound right here in your belly is more important than healing a broken bone, a goofed up cartilage. It's even probably more important than most forms of cancer. And Mother Nature wants to heal you, but as long as these walls are up, which you needed in your childhood, and you needed in your 20s, and you needed halfway through your 30s, but now it's just getting in the way. So Mother Nature developed a mechanism of torture, a mechanism of healing. You can't heal till the walls go down. Who takes the walls down? Your spouse, who's an assassin. The purpose of marriage is to make you totally freaking miserable. Can I get an amen for that? So here you are, you're 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, right in there, 45. And you're wearing each other down with fussing and fighting. Or you can't communicate and you're lonely. Or somebody has an affair, or somebody has an addiction. You come in my office and you're 42 and both of you are bleeding on the carpet, then the healing can begin. I can help this person tremendously. But the person with their walls up, they come in, they already know everything. Typical 22-year-old. I try to teach them something, and I can't teach them anything. And I tell them, you're either going to learn something or I'm going to chase you out of my building. And I don't really care which one it is. I try not to chase most of my clients out of the building. I don't know that would be the best thing for business. But if they walk in my office and they ask for a genogram and they ask for marriage counseling, I'm going to punch them in their face with love, with truth, to help them. Because that's my job. So, why did you pick somebody who's like your psychotic mama or your alcoholic daddy? I'll tell you why. Because you needed to have the walls come down so you'd have a shot at healing. One of the top 10 most powerful marital therapy insights is get the book Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix. Every couple, married or unmarried, should read the book Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix. And he talks about this same theory of you always marry the right person. And their job is to torture you eventually, once the enmeshment wears off. So in that book, Harville Hendricks says your best chance of getting healthy is to stay in your marriage and grind it out and learn how to hear each other and learn how to have empathy one towards another as the wounded little kid surfaces. Okay, the third most powerful marital therapy concept is enmeshment, and its counterpart, emotional cutoff. Most people get about 7 years of enmeshment, and then you slowly drift into this here. He's over here, she's over here, and there's a big empty hole within them. So that's what happens in every marriage. It happens slowly. What happens is, let's say you get married when you're 25, you dated 2 years, so 2 years of your enmeshment is up. Your enmeshment lasts until you're 30. By then, you got 2 or 3 kiddos. And then for the next 15 years, who cares if you're happy? You're changing diety draws, changing diapers, you're feeding babies, you're taking kids to ballet lessons, you're outnumbered 3-2. You might be unhappy, but nobody cares because you're exhausted. People with little babies don't come to marriage counseling for the most part. It's when that last one gets off to kindergarten, you wake up and say, whoa, my partner's way over here and I'm lonely and this isn't working. The third way of being in a relationship, I'm going to erase some stuff if I can find my eraser here. There's 3 ways of being in relationships: enmeshment, emotional cutoff, and then there's the healthy one, and it's called being interdependent. It's Jerry Wise, who's on our channel. He says getting healthy is about becoming individuated from your family of origin. So this is what interdependent looks like. It's 2 whole healthy people. They're not all glummed on to each other. Nobody's particularly defensive. Nobody has an active addiction. Nobody's cheating. Nobody's lying. Both people can be in touch with their needs. Both people can be vulnerable. Both people are in their own recovery process. Nobody's a workaholic. They share their needs vulnerably and sweetly. There's empathy. It's pretty rare. You ain't born that way. It's 2 people that have done a lot of work. Okay. The next most powerful marital insight. These aren't necessarily in order. I think the main ones are the top 5, but your sexuality is calibrated by your woundedness. Your sexuality is calibrated by your woundedness. Why you like one dude but not another dude? The other dude might be better looking. You don't care. There's just something about Mary, right? You know, there's just something that draws you toward this person. So the way that you end up with your particular assassin, who is a carbon copy of the DNA of the parent who hurt you the most, it's simply this. When you get around them, you think they're smoking hot. And you ask them out on dates, and you develop a relationship, and you make love, and you become enmeshed, and you marry him. But everybody's sexuality is twisted in one way or another. And you might as well face it, you're addicted to love. You like who you like. You know? Some people go out of their way in second or third marriages to pick people they don't like. They're anti-type. Somebody who's steady Eddie, won't hurt them, won't abandon them, just he's a little boring is all. And that's an option. Oh, I got to get out of bed. Mr. Pauly, there he is. He woke me up at 3:30 this morning. I never could get back to bed. And now he's snoozing, mocking me. Number 5 is in a relationship, generally there are two people, one who leans more toward counterdependency, which is sort of like narcissism's little brother, and one person who leans toward being codependent. In some relationships, there's full-blown counterdependence. There's 4 qualities. Looking for Elijans here, like David Letterman used to call them, Elijans. I'm saying it wrong. So codependents fit together with counterdependence. And mainly I run into male counterdependence and female codependence. But the couple I was working with yesterday, she was a counterdependent, he was a codependent. So let me run through. This stuff's priceless. I hope you're going to watch this several times. The first quality of a counterdependent is they are very confident, bordering on arrogance. They're grandiose, they're charismatic. Whereas a codependent, they're more self-doubting. The second quality of a counterdependent, on the outside, they're highly independent. On the inside, they're needy, voracious little kids. Whereas a codependent is more emotionally dependent upon their spouse and many times financially dependent. The third part of a counterdependent is a 3-parter. They are oblivious. I get accused of that a lot by various women I've been in relationships with. There might be some truth to that. Self-absorption. You say, I'm not self-absorbed. I'm providing a living for my family. There's a difference between working a job and needing the job because you feel insecure on the inside, so you need to be Donald Trump on the outside. The best example I can think of a counterdependent is Donald Trump, except he's more than a counterdependent. He's a malignant freaking narcissist. Sorry if that offends your politics, but it's true. The third part of a codependent is they're too other-centered. They walk in the house, their first thought is, hey, what does my husband need for dinner? What do the kids need? The counterdependent walks in the house and says, who's playing the Cowboys? Or, I wonder what my wife's going to cook me for dinner. The last step of a counterdependent, that they do not like chaos. They don't like feeling out of control. They like feeling in control. So they tend to be controlling, whereas a codependent, they're too passive. If there are male codependents out there, I want you to get a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover. It'll change your whole life. If there are female codependents out there, I want you to get Codependent No More by Melody Beatty. If there are counterdependents of any sort, I want you to go to my website, familytreecounseling.com, and buy one of my books online called A Punch in the Mouth from a Friend. It's mainly written for male counterdependents, but it would fit for female counterdependents as well. The sixth most powerful marital therapy insight is everybody's, pardon my language, pretty fucked up. Did you know that, including you? Here's how I quantify that on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of somebody. I think Mr. Polly's moving a little bit. In terms of your mental health, your emotional health, of course, there's no perfect people. There's no 10s. In my opinion, there are no 9s, 8s, 7s, or 6s on the planet. I think I met a 5 once. Most of us hover right around 3, and I mean planet-wide. So if you're particularly emotionally healthy, you might be a 3.2. If you grew up in a real primitive, broken, dysfunctional family, you're about a 2.5. I'm telling you the truth, folks. Everybody I've ever done a family tree on has had a significant amount of massive dysfunction. Everybody you know has a significant amount of massive dysfunction. And we're seeing it in our culture. It breaks my heart, but almost every day lately, for the last 200 and something days, there's been a mass shooting. There's a lot of rage and a lot of brokenness in our culture. The number 7 most powerful marital therapy insight, and not just marital therapy, but individual therapy in this case. There's 4 ways that you can see yourself and see others. And there's 4 circles here with 4 digits in each one. The first one, plus, plus. The first plus is about how you see yourself. So if you're a plus, you're like, hey, I'm not perfect, but I try to do the right thing and I work on my issues and I'm a good egg. The second plus is about the world in general and about your spouse in particular. So a plus would be, I know that sometimes people drive airplanes into towers, but most people are good people who are well-intentioned, and my spouse has a whole bunch of issues, but they're cool. Plus minus is, I'm cool, but you pretty well suck. I'm the plus, you're the minus, and it's nagging, criticism, shaming, belittling. It's no fun. Minus plus is, I do suck. It must be my fault. I'm the codependent. I done wrong. It's shame. But you're good. And then minus is the people who have the guns who go out and shoot people because they're hopeless and they're angry at the world. They don't love themselves and they don't trust the universe and they hate their spouse and they want to go eat worms and they play the role of a victim. The 7th most powerful marriage counseling insight is, I go over it with everybody that I work with. Now I'm going to take the lozenges. There are 5 qualities that you need in order to do this work. And if you don't have the 5 qualities, you're not going to make very much progress. And you and your spouse both need to make progress at about the same pace, or if one person outgrows the other, there's probably going to be a separation of paths. So the first quality you need to know how broken you are. You need to be highly motivated to fix yourself. Do whatever it takes. Pay whatever it costs. The second thing is you need to be teachable. I was working with a fellow the other day. I said, do you know how broken you are? He says, I'm not broken. And I got so flabbergasted I had a pen in my hand. I threw it in the air. Because this guy is about as broken as anybody I've worked with. But he's so broken that he can't know how broken he is. The third quality is you have to have the strength and courage to be able to feel your pain. The fourth quality is you have to trust the process of therapy and trust the therapist. The fifth quality is you need to do your homework and watch videos and read books. You have to have those 5 qualities, and if the therapy is dragging and we don't seem to be making progress, and they come in and say, well, Mark, Mr. Fancy Therapist Pants, you aren't really making much progress with us. And I'm like, dude, let's grade your 5 qualities, because the couple I had before you, we just set on fire and had the best session I've ever had in my 32-year career. And I got somebody coming in after you today, and I know for a fact that we're going to kick ass too. I ain't the problem. I'm dishing out the same quality product in every session, and if it ain't working, God bless you. It's not your fault, but you just ain't got these 5 qualities. Either you can't feel your feelings, or your mind is closed, or you're defensive, or you're not motivated, or you can't trust, or you're not doing your homework, or all the above. The 9th most powerful marital therapy insight is that good marriage counselors don't believe in marriage counseling. Good marriage counselors want to get you in recovery for your own issues. We normally think of recovery as being pertaining to alcohol or drugs, but being in recovery is simply understanding who you are and what your issues are, and getting busy effectively working on those things. So he might need to be in recovery for codependency or sexual addiction or depression or counterdependency. She might need to be in recovery for codependency, food addiction, being controlling, relationship addiction. There's so many things to be in recovery. It's just knowing the truth. Good therapy is about knowing the truth. You go to a good therapist, they're going to figure out the truth, and they're going to get a scalpel out and go to slice. And if the scalpel breaks, they're going to get a jackhammer, and they're going to enlighten you with the truth about yourself, which is their job. So the recovery process begins when you hit bottom. When does an alcoholic get in recovery? When they hit bottom, when the walls come down. When does a married couple finally call a good therapist? When they're 43 and one of them's having an affair and both of them are seeing lawyers. It's a little late, dudes. Get in earlier. The second thing with recovery is somebody turns a light switch on. You gain a lot of insight. You get all this stuff, except you pay a lot of money for it. You understand who you are and where you came from, and you understand how your grandparents' issues impacted your parents, impacted you, causing you to marry who you marry, and we eliminate victim mentality altogether. The third part of recovery is powerful, and it's sweet, and it's when the wounded little kid comes out. I'm doing an intensive bit of therapy right now with Dr. Baca, MAGA therapist locally, and my wife. And I come to the sessions in this adult body. Maybe I look like a teenager. I don't know, with all the tattoos and stuff. Where's the tattoos? You can see them. Anyway, but I come to the sessions and I'm a little boy, and I cry and I make really sad faces, and my voice changes to the voice of a little boy. You know, that's deep pride. Cry and cry. That's the core of us. I was working with a fellow the other day, and when I said, "You've been a lonely, sad little boy your whole life," he got teary-eyed and he said, "You're right. I have been. I just needed to hide it." That's how people change. Their marriage, almost always their marriage rips a hole in their defense mechanism. They hit bottom. Hopefully they get with a good therapist or watch good YouTube videos, and they become enlightened, and then the crying commences. And how do we heal? We heal by crying. Codependents also heal by being empowered by healthy anger. The fourth step of recovery is you get better. And between the two of you, if you're both doing the work at the same time, you can build that solid interdependent relationship. The last thing is, I've already mentioned it, read or listen to the book called Getting the Love You Want. So these are meaty bones. Everything I talked about was meaty. Watch this again. Chew on it. Think about it. Read the book. If you want a therapist that can help you with it, then I have time in my schedule. I have people on my staff who have time on their schedules. So your marriage is a gift. Your problem isn't your spouse. Your spouse isn't the problem. They're the cure. Well, Mr. Pauly says goodbye. That's what that little shift was. He loves y'all. I love y'all. I hope this has helped you. Thank you for watching. God bless.